Hey everyone, and welcome to SkillCapped. I'm TheKingLive, and in today's video, I was actually inspired by a channel from a different game to incorporate something that they do to teach players how to play chess into Valorant gameplay. That channel specifically is called Chessbrah, and the series I'm referring to is called Building Habits. This is a series in which they break down specific habits that players can build that, although aren't always 100% the best decisions, they are more often than not good decisions that will win you more games. Now, obviously, there are some differences between chess and Valorant. However, I felt like there's some really good habits Valorant players could build up to help them win more games. And I actually decided to test this out on my stream last act for a few games and experienced a large amount of success with it, immediately going on a 9-game win streak after beginning this. I've had enough time to experiment with this to say it definitely helped me strengthen my play, and I'm going to share those habits that I use to help me climb through Diamond, but I genuinely believe that these will help players in any rank. The thing is, a lot of these habits in both Chessbrah's video and in this video right now aren't that complicated of things. They don't require flashy plays, they are there to help you build a baseline idea of what you should be doing in your games to give you the highest percentage chance of winning your rounds. If that sounds good to you, stick with us as we get into it, but before we do, let's introduce our question of the day, which is, what is one feature you'd like to see added to Valorant? I've seen some interesting features. I think Rainbow Six Siege has a strat planning feature. The biggest thing I'm looking forward to is a replay system right now. There's a tournament mode coming out soon, but maybe you have something else in mind that you would like to see in the game, so let us know in the comments down below. Alright, starting out with our first habit though, the very first thing I want you to do every round is check what the economy in the game looks like. This is something all top tier players are constantly aware of and something you should be aware of as well. There are going to be a couple of other mini habits here though that will play into this as well. None of these things are possible though if you don't check your economy, so be sure to do that. Now the best way to do this might actually be to set up a reminder on a notepad or something, or maybe a sticky note next to your screen, but build up a habit of pressing tab and stop looking at your KDA and instead look at the money that players have. With this information, what you're going to determine is who has more money. If your team has more money, meaning that the other team is going to be on an eco, what I recommend that you do is look for some longer range engagements. If their team is sitting around 3,000 credits each, this means that they won't be able to afford rifles. So this will mean that you have the advantage at longer angles, but it will also mean that they will be able to afford shotguns, so you will be at a disadvantage at closer angles. This is why if you have more money, you're going to choose to fight these longer range engagements where you have the upper hand, rather than choosing those closer range engagements where it's just a little bit more dangerous. Ranges like this include C or A long on Haven, even dueling mid can be okay, mid on Ascent, B long on Bind, or short, pretty much anywhere that you can take fights over 15 meters. Now similarly, if you do not have the money advantage, you are not going to want to fight longer angles. If an angle is longer than 15 meters, you're going to want to use utility to help close that gap. This means smoking off the entrance of places like C long on Haven or mid on Ascent. This means prioritizing pushing places like Garage or B on Haven, or if you're playing on a map like Bind, Hookah, or Showers, this means flashing players off of angles that you think they might be holding with rifles or operators. This is basically just 3 habits in one, but it all comes down to checking the economy. You have to check the economy at the start of every round to determine how you're going to play that round. Now before we move on to the next habit that I actually believe is the biggest reason for my success in ranked recently, I wanted to say if you're really looking to climb in Valorant, the best way to do that right now is our hyper improvement system on SkillCapped.com. From in-depth agent guides to Smurf commentaries where a higher ranked player walks you through stuff just like this while they're doing it in a live match, we've got it all. If you actually wanted to bring your game to the next level, SkillCapped.com is by far the best way to do it. Link in the description below. Now this second habit isn't 100% necessary, but it will make things easier for you. You're going to be playing agents with high impact ultimates. For duelists, this is Phoenix and Raze. For controllers, this is Brimstone and Viper. For initiators, it's pretty much any of them. And for sentinels, it's like Sage and Killjoy. The reason I recommend playing agents with high impact ultimates is because ultimate orbs are highly undervalued in Valorant right now, especially at lower ranks. This is why you're going to be taking advantage of them as much as you possibly can. Now this doesn't mean that agents like Omen or Cypher are bad. They're incredibly strong agents and you can still utilize ult orbs on them pretty well. I just recommend giving the orb to somebody else on your team who has a more impactful ultimate. This leads to the reason I recommend that you're the one playing an agent with an impactful ultimate, because you should trust yourself more to get value out of it than you should trust somebody random on your team. If you're doing this right, you can get your ultimate 3, sometimes 4 times and a half, and that ultimate can easily sway rounds itself. Ultimate orbs are incredibly undervalued right now, and nothing is more obnoxious than a Phoenix who used his run it back 4 times and a half. Basically, your first goal at the start of every round should be to target whatever ultimate orb is easiest to grab and go and get it. On some maps, the orbs are practically free for different sides. For example, these are some orbs that are pretty free for defense on all maps, and these are some orbs that are pretty free for offense on all maps. This doesn't mean that just walking up and grabbing the orb is the best move, but by following the first habit of smoking off long angles on eco rounds and taking duels on long angles on buy rounds, you can make sure that these are a lot more safe to grab. Wait a minute, that's cool. You see how that worked out? One habit that we built up made it easier to accomplish another habit. That's going to be a common theme going forward, so keep an eye out for that. Going back to this habit though, your goal is to farm ult orbs and use your ultimate on cooldown. You want to use your ultimate as many times and a half as you can while still getting value out of it. This means try to plan rounds around the ultimates that you have available. When I have things like Killjoy ult, I'll try to call a play around it wherever I feel like it's best used. When I have Brimstone ult available, I generally try to wait until somebody is in a corner that they can't get out of, and then I try to get a free kill with it. Things like this are small, but they add up and will win you rounds in the end. The first time I started focusing on these habits actually, I had a game as Viper where I was farming ultimate orbs. During this match, I grabbed like 2 to 3 ult orbs, and then I had a round where I was 1v2 and I planted the bomb and got my ultimate. I used my ultimate and I was able to clutch up a round 1v2 while I had 20 HP. This wouldn't have been possible if I hadn't prioritized those ultimate orbs earlier on in the game, and that's what people don't realize. The opportunities you're missing out on because you're ignoring ult orbs completely. Trust me, start grabbing ult orbs more and you will notice the impact in your games. The third habit I want you to build up is to do everything with a teammate. This is where it starts to get a little bit more difficult because you actually have no control over what your teammates do, and don't get me wrong, there are times in the game where you probably should do things solo. However, for the purpose of building up good habits, if you're going to do anything, I suggest that you do it with a teammate to minimize risk. And that's the whole point of these habits, just to manage the amount of risk that you take and to maximize the amount of value that you get out of your decisions. If you're going to go for an ult orb, tell your teammate that and ask them to help you. If they look like they're not going to help you, well, King, it looks like we have a dilemma. We're gonna have to break one of those habits. So which one do we break? Unfortunately, you're probably not going to be able to get that ult orb. I would suggest playing with your teammates over greeting for an ult orb, but you can still suggest to your teammate to help you and hold for you while you go for it and see if they will. Some games and some rounds you're just not going to be able to accomplish all of your habits, and that's okay. What's important is that you're taking advantage of these things when you can. Specifically, what's nice about this habit is that it's pretty much always making sure that you're at least doing something useful. A lot of players have this problem where they have many rounds throughout a game where they are not really accomplishing anything. However, by centralizing where the action is happening, it's going to be a lot harder for you to be on the opposite side of the map getting nothing accomplished. When you're alone, it's possible to get a lot of value. It's also possible to not get any value. When you're with your team, it's very likely that you're going to get some sort of value. What playing with your team does is it gives you a high percentage chance of having value in the round. Now, just to re-clarify for all of the critics, there are definitely times when playing solo can be great. However, a great general habit to build up is to play with your team and to play off of your team. If you're looking to retake, try to retake from the same location as a teammate. If you're looking to execute a site take, try to make sure that you're going with somebody. Don't try to go solo take showers, ask a teammate to come help you. Remember, friends, strength in numbers. If no one is coming with you, don't go do it solo, go with your team instead. Eventually we'll learn when we can break this rule, but for now, just start off with this. Something you'll notice about this tip is that sometimes it's going to demand that you do things that you maybe wouldn't otherwise. Because if you're supposed to do everything with a teammate, what do you do when your teammate starts to get aggressive when you maybe aren't ready to? If that teammate dies, you're going to be alone. That's bad. You don't want to be alone. It's one of our habits to do things with teammates. That's right, this means that you'll get better at backing your teammates up, which means that you'll get better at trading your teammates. And yes, now you see it's all coming together. The only exception I'm giving you to this rule is habit number 4, which is play the objective. There are going to be times when your teammates are going to chase after kills after the bomb goes down, and you're not going to do that. Your job is to, once the bomb is down, play the objective and make sure that spike explodes. This is especially good on agents with good post plants, but too often players will overextend in post plant and it will lose them rounds. Don't push into spawn, don't get too aggressive, sit back, play the bomb, and make sure you're able to stall long enough until it goes off. There are going to be times where you lose rounds when your team gets far too aggressive and suddenly you're in a 1v3 post plant. Remember, in that situation, they made the mistake of getting over aggressive and you sat back and played the objective and tried to secure the round. That loss isn't your fault. Those players on your team got over aggressive, and sometimes that's just going to happen. But over the course of many games, sitting back and playing post plant is going to secure you more rounds safely, and that's the most important part. This applies to more than just post plant too, by the way. If you're on defense and you kill the enemy who has the spike, you should prioritize taking control of that area and denying the enemy the ability to get the spike back. This is also a type of playing the objective, and at the end of the day, the spike is the main priority, and if the offense can't plant the spike, then they can't win the round unless they kill all of you. So if the spike is down in a position that you could take control of, rally the troops and try to get to that position. Call out to your team where it's at and try to get them on board with helping you take control of that area. At the end of the day, the spike is the main objective, and that's how you're going to end up winning the game. play the objective. Moving on to our last habit, and this is one that is actually the most basic but most difficult one to accomplish in my opinion. You should be communicating everything that you see. To be realistic, you should be communicating what you plan to do as well, but let's start with everything that you see. Even if no one on your team is talking back to you, assume they are listening and try to communicate all of the information available to them to assist them in whatever way possible. Not everyone is as aware of what is going on, and just having one player in comms can make a world of difference in the game. Unless you're an aim demon, you probably have to rely more on other skills to win rounds, and this is why we're building up these habits, to give you a high percentage chance of performing well in a game. By focusing on improving your communication, not only are you relaying more information to your team, you're also wiring yourself more into the game. It will help you focus more on the information in front of you and become more focused on the game as a whole rather than just playing casually and trying to click heads. Before you notice it, the amount of comms you're giving out will subconsciously inspire other players to communicate back. And before you know it, you'll have 3 players working together and communicating to try to win the game. Generally, you're going to have to be the one leading the comms. This is why you have to ask players to help you with ult orbs and call out everything on the map. It's because you are the best player on your team, and by keeping a leveled head and acting like a leader, you're able to bring your game to the next level. I'd say 90% of players in Valorant are not good at communicating. Try to be part of the 10% that are. Lastly, remember, if you really want to bring your game to the next level, be sure to check out SkillCapped.com. Link in the description below. Hey, let me know if you guys like this type of video. I really enjoy watching Chess Bros series, and if you guys are into chess at all, I highly suggest checking them out. Because chess is a solo player game, these habits don't work 100% as well, but I've improved a massive amount after focusing on these things, and I have definitely been winning more games I wouldn't win otherwise. If you'd like to see us walk through some of the thought process behind higher elo plays as well, I genuinely suggest checking out our Smurf commentaries on our website. The creators who do those do a really excellent job. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel down below and like the video. It really does help us out. And as always, I'm TheKingLive, and we here at SkillCapped want to thank you all for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.